Ya la 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 la. la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, la la la. Please join us. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. La la la. Shabbat Shalom, everyone, and welcome to pre-Hanukkah. We are not celebrating Hanukkah yet. Hanukkah begins the evening of the 25th of the month. It, by the way, is the 25th on the Gregorian calendar. It is the 25th always on the Hebrew calendar, the 25th of Kislev, and has been, as far as we know, that way for about 2,200 years, give or take a few. We do have the Chanukiah, the special menorah, out with the candles, and we're going to talk a little bit later about Hanukkah, the festival and the holiday. But for now, we're going to welcome Shabbat, and we're going to continue with the lighting of Shabbat candles, which you can find on page 120 of the Siddur. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. We're going to continue welcoming Shabbat with the singing of a Hanukkah song. It's Mi Yimalel. It is on page 668 of the Siddur. Your hands are going to get a little bit of a workout tonight, moving back and forth. Please join us. Mi yemalel gvurot Yisrael otan mi yimne hen bechol dor yatum hagibor goel ha mi yemalel gvurot Yisrael otan mi yimne hen bechol dor yakum hagibor goel ha shma Moshiach ufodeh
ובימינו כל עם ישראל יתאחד יקום להיגאל. In English, who can tell the things that befell us? Who can count them? In every age a hero or sage come to our aid. Who can retell the things that befell us? Who can count them? In every age a hero or sage came to our aid. This time of year in days of yore, Maccabees the temple did restore, and today our people, as we dreamed, will arise, unite, and be redeemed. Mi Yamalel Kurot Yisrael Otan Miyimne Hen Bechol Dor Yakum Hagibor Goel Ham. Mi Yamalel Kurot Yisrael Otan Miyimne Hen Bechol Dor Yakum Hagibor Goel Ham.
We're getting warmed up, but I'm glad you didn't peak too early, but we're going to put some more ruach, some more spirit, some more soul into our singing. We are going to now turn back to our Shabbat liturgy, to page 138, where you will find the words for Lecha Dodi, the 16th century piyut, or poem, written by a community of mystics who were living in the town of Tzfat, up in the hills above the Sea of Galilee, the Galil. And they would go out, we are told, on Friday afternoon wearing flowing white robes into the area around the peak of the mountain. And as the sun began to go down, they would welcome Shabbat in a very beautiful way.
Lecha Dodi lekrat kala pnei Shabbat mekabela. Lecha Dodi lekrat kala pnei Shabbat mekabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad ishmi'anu el ha'miyuchad Adonai echad u'shmo echad l'shem ol tiferet v'litila. Lecha Dodi lekrat kala pnei Shabbat mekabela. Lecha Dodi lekrat kala pnei Shabbat mekabela. Lekrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha ki mekor habracha merosh mikedem nesucha sof maaseh b'machshavat chila. Lecha Dodi lekrat kala pnei Shabbat mekabela. Lecha Dodi lekrat kala pnei Shabbat mekabela. Verse 5, Hitoreri, Hitoreri, בשמחה ובצולה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה. בואי חלה, בואי חלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה.
We remain standing as we turn to page 144, where the cantor will lead us through the Chatzi Kaddish, the Reader's Kaddish, and take us from these introductory portions of the service into its main body.
יתגדל ויקדש שמי רבה, בעלמא דברי חירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומייכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל. בגלה, בגלה, ובזמן קריב וימרו, אמן. יהי שמי רבה מברך, לעלם ולעלמי עולמיה, יתברך. יתברך וישתבח, ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל, שמי דקודשה בריחו, לעילה מכל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, תמירן בעלמא וימרו, אמן.
Page 146.
Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la la. ברכו את אדוני המבורך. ברוך אדוני המבורך, המבורך לעולם
We're going to continue on page 148. You know, no matter where you go in the world, if you're in a synagogue, there will be essentially the same prayers in the same order. And whether it's a service in the morning or in the evening, we always follow the Baruch, the call to worship, which we just sang, with a prayer thanking God for nature. It's really a tie-in to creation, just as some other blessings that we'll sing tie into other peak moments in Jewish history. Please join me in the Ba'ariv Aravim in the middle of page 148. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, ruler of the universe,
who speaks the evening into being, skillfully opens the gates, thoughtfully alters the time and changes the seasons, and arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tzevaot is your name. Ever-living God, may you reign continually over us into eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on evening. Baruch atah Adonai, Hama'ariv Aravim.
Page 150.
Ahavat olam bet Yisrael, amecha ahavta, amecha ahavta. Torah u'mitzvot, chukim u'mishpatim, otanu limadeta. Alekein Adonai Eloheinu b'shochveinu uvkumeinu nasiach bechukecha v'nismach b'divrei toratecha uv'mitzvotecha le'olam va'ed ki hem chayenu ve'orech yameinu uvahem neke yomam v'layla ve'ahavatecha al tasir mimenu le'olamim. Baruch atah Adonai ohev amo Yisrael, ohev amo Yisrael. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem kevod malchuto le'olam va'ed.
Please be seated. And join us on page 154 with the very verses that follow the Shema in the book of Deuteronomy, the V'ahavta.
Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher Anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך. וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
I referenced earlier the idea that the prayer service takes us through a number of the most important moments in human and Jewish history. After the Baruch Hu, the call to worship, we sang, or we read a prayer, thanking God for nature. We then sang a prayer, Ahavat Olam, which thanks God for revelation, for giving us the Torah at Mount Sinai through Moses, but also gives us the opportunity to continually learn from the Torah in each succeeding generation. And in a moment, we're going to sing the Michamocha, which is literally taken, snatched from the pages of the Torah as well, from the 15th chapter of Exodus, the moment of celebration when the Israelites realize that they are free from slavery. In that moment, very thoughtfully, Miriam, the sister of Moses and Aaron, has packed a number of tambourines, which she distributes and leads dancing, because the people are understandably quite excited. Before we sing the Michamocha, do you want to say a minute something about the melody?
Sure. When we hit our three major festivals, I say that carefully because obviously technically Hanukkah isn't exactly one of them, but we still maintain the tradition. We have a melody that has become associated with that festival. The most familiar to us, of course, would be the High Holy Days. There is also the melody associated with Sukkot that we used just a few months ago, with Pesach that we'll hear around about April time this year, and then just over a month later on Shavuot, there is the third. On Hanukkah, we do kind of a similar thing, this time taking the melody for Ma'oz Tzur, which we are actually going to sing as well later in the service. This widely recognized melody, which somewhere along the way kind of became referred to almost universally as the Ashkenazic melody, has its roots in the medieval Jewish communities of Central Europe, although, as with all of these tunes, the exact origin is unknown and remains somewhat obscure. It's believed with Ma'oz Tzur that it evolved from a German folk tune or hymn, and it was adapted by Ashkenazi congregations over time. And this process of adopting and adapting local melodies for liturgical use has been common in Jewish communities throughout the ages. By the 18th and 19th centuries, this melody had become firmly associated with Ma'oz Tzur, but it isn't the only one. There are certain other tunes doing the rounds, and there are others which even some Ashkenazi communities still maintain. And although we don't have kind of a specific composer's name to go with it, the tune's long history and communal development kind of highlight how Jewish cultural and religious expression has been shaped by this interplay of tradition, adaptation, and local influence. And as I say today, this melody, remains standard in many Jewish communities throughout the world, symbolizing very much the spirit of Hanukkah. So we'll continue with the Michamocha on page 158. Please join me. Adonai et Yaakov, ugalo miyad chazak mimenu, baruch atah Adonai, ga'al Yisrael.
On page 160 is the evening prayer Hashkivenu, literally a prayer that we say originating from the moment before we go to sleep, asking God to lay us down to peace and to wake us up tomorrow healthy to a new day. So please join me in the English in the middle of the page. Grant, O God, that we lie down in peace
and raise us up, our guardian, to life renewed. Spread over us the shelter of your peace. Guide us with your good counsel,
and for your name's sake,
be our help. Shield and shelter us beneath the shadow of your wings. Defend us against enemies, illness, war, famine, and sorrow. Distance us from wrongdoing. For you, God, watch over us and deliver us. For you, God, are gracious and merciful. Guard our going and coming to life and peace evermore. Blessed are you, Adonai, guardian of Israel, whose shelter of peace is spread over us, over all your people Israel, and over Jerusalem. Baruch atah Adonai, hapores sukat shalom, aleinu v'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim.
Page 162 of the Shamru for Shabbat.
Ve'shameru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam beini uven b'nei Yisrael oti le'olam le'olam ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et hashamayim ve'et haaretz uvayom hashevi shavat vayinafash.
On page 164, we've come to the central portion of our service, known by several names. The name here on the page is Tefillah, which literally means prayer. This is the prayer par excellence. We also refer to this section as the Amidah, which means standing, because it is said in that physical attitude. So please join us in rising and facing the ark, and starting on page 164 and continuing through the Amidah.
Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu ve'Elohei avoteinu ve'imoteinu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, ve'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, ve'Konei Hakol, ve'Zocher Chastei Avot v'Imahot, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע. משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומדומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיה הכל. אתה קדוש בשמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלע. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
Please be seated. And let's continue together at the top of page 173. We'll continue on to the top of the next two odd number pages, after which we'll arrive to page 178, where we will find Shalom Rav, our prayer for peace. Please join me. May these hours of rest and renewal
open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. And may this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat.
Ever-present one,
may we, your people Israel, be worthy in our deeds and our prayers. Wherever we live, wherever we seek you, in this land, in Zion restored, in all lands, you are our God, whom alone we serve in reverence. Baruch atah Adonai, she'otcha levadcha b'yirah na'avod.
God of goodness,
we give thanks for the gift of life, wonder beyond words, for the awareness of soul, our light within, for the world around us so filled with beauty, for the richness of the earth which day by day sustains us. For all these and more we offer thanks. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha ulecha na'eh lehodot. Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. Ki ata hu melech adon lechol hashalom. Ki ata hu melech adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. V'tov b'einecha levarech et amecha Yisrael bechol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. Tasim leolam. Tasim leolam.
Baruch atah Adonai, hamvarech et amo Yisrael bashalom. Blessed are you, Adonai. You bless your people, Israel, with peace, and God willing, will also bless the entire world with peace. We continue our prayers for peace silently.
עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל.
Though we are not going to be reading Torah this evening, we are going to say one of the blessings that customarily follows the reading of Torah on Shabbat and holidays, or actually any time we pray. It's called the Mishaberach for healing. It is a prayer asking God to provide Rifuah Shlema, a complete healing to those in need, healing both of the body and of the soul. You can find a modern setting for the tradition's ancient words on page 371 of the Siddur. And this Shabbat, we think especially of the hostages, those who have been wounded in wars everywhere around the globe. Lucy Adams, Elise Barr, Sarah bat Bessie Veben, Rivka Fegi bat Phyllis, Emily Baer, Kevin Boland, Yosef Carrasco, Katie Pels Davis, Michelle Delao, Roz Flegel, Leonore Friedman, Susie Garrison, Marianne Gehrig, David Goldenholtz, Thelma Henry, Penny Houle, Jennifer Houston, Michelle Jacoby, Pat Kester, Rory Langlois, Jim and Karen McDermott, Marv Lowasser, Kathy Manchero, Donald Metzke, Bob Radke, Mosi Ramirez, Bill, Martha, Michael, and Sally Ross, Stella Schneider, Gary Siegel, Herb Selden, Michael Stillman, Will Thompson, and Deidre Tischberg. If there are others of whom you are aware who could use our prayers for healing, I would ask you please to hold them close to you in your heart as together we pray.
מקור הברכה לאמותינו. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. מקור הברכה לאבותינו. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
I didn't mention there was going to be a pop quiz, but let me start just with one question. Can somebody tell me the difference between that and that? Please keep your answers to 5 paragraphs. Joshua? Ah, very nice. A menorah just literally means something that gives off light. It's kind of a generic word for lamp. Nur is a Semitic root, both in Arabic and Hebrew and Aramaic, for that matter, that means light. A Hanukkah menorah, or a Chanukiah, is specifically for the celebration of Hanukkah. There is a somewhat different shape between the two. One of them has 7 different branches, and the Chanukiah has 8 branches and 1 spot for a helper candle. And this, does anybody know where the first menorah actually was? Something along the lines of that 7-branched candelabra? It was in the temple in Jerusalem. It was pretty much the major source of illumination once the sun went down in the temple. And it was, not to go too far ahead, what the Maccabees were trying to light when they found that one cruse of oil that miraculously lasted longer than that. Judaism was 2,000 years ago, and for the prior 1,000 years before that, a religious civilization that was centered in its ritual practice on the temple in Jerusalem. People for holidays would come from all over the land of Israel. The northern part, north of where the old city is now, was actually, it looked something like the state fairgrounds here in Milwaukee, in the sense that it was an open area, and that is where families would pitch tents who were coming from afar to be in town for the major festivals. In the year 70 of the Common Era, the second temple was destroyed at what was to be the end of the Roman occupation. And as part of that, Jews were exiled to all areas within the Roman Empire, throughout the Mediterranean basin and North Africa, all over. And it was quite a crisis for a number of reasons. Families were split up. People went to places that they didn't know the language, didn't know the culture. It was a real traumatic event in the life of the people. And the leaders at the time, the rabbis, had one central question, which was, what does God want us to do now? I mean, everything we see in the Torah, all the mitzvot and commandments pertain to celebrating at a temple in Jerusalem, and we don't have a temple in Jerusalem anymore. What does God want us to do? The leaders said, you know what? God would not leave us without some instructions here. So let's go back to the Torah, and let's read it very closely, and let's read between the lines. And chances are there's wisdom there embedded in the text that will relate precisely to the moment that we are in. And that's what they did. Before the destruction of the temple, though, 2 centuries beforehand, there was a Greek occupation of the land of Israel. And these were people who had been really the armies and allies of Alexander the Greek, who had kind of very quickly run through the area and then appointed agents who were there to collect taxes for him. And those are the Syrian Greeks who, after several generations, made life very difficult for the Jews. It was the Maccabees, a family that lived out in the countryside, who took it upon themselves to lead an insurrection. I'm going to come up with a different word. They took it upon themselves to lead what was in essence a guerrilla action. They lived in caves during the day, and they came out at night and tried to make life difficult for the Syrian Greeks. And after 3 years, they were able to drive them away. And the first thing they did was to clean up the sanctuary, which the Syrian Greeks had turned into a Greek temple, and they tried to reestablish what had been there before as a Jewish temple to the one Jewish God. As the story is told, there was a bit of a crisis. They went to light the menorah, and they found only one cruse, one little like half bottle of oil that was pure olive oil with the seal of the high priest on it that was suitable for lighting it. And they were a little concerned because they said, well, you know, what are we going to do? We're going to light it. It's going to burn for one day or one night. And then we're going to be Afzuris. They didn't speak Yiddish, but that's what they were thinking. They were actually going to be in trouble. Well, as the story is told 600 years later in the Talmud, and the story that we've known and been taught, the oil itself lasted not for one day or one evening, but rather an entire week, 8 days, which was the miracle we point to when we're celebrating this festival, in large part because it became politically untenable to celebrate a military victory, which was what Hanukkah was in essence originally, at a time when there was a new power in town occupying the land, Rome, and people correctly assumed that Rome might not be too happy about the locals celebrating a holiday that would mark the throwing out, the expulsion of an occupying power. Also, people tended in those days to theologize events, which is to say, people asked the question, why did this happen? What did we do? Why did God allow this to happen? And as part of celebrating Hanukkah and to mark the miracle of the oil that lasted longer, they came up with a kind of modified menorah, the Chanukiah, which you can see there. And there was immediately somewhat of a debate about what to do with it. I mean, clearly, they were going to light it. They were oil lamps, not candles back then. But the question arose, well, how are we going to mark the 8 days? There were those who said, well, why don't we start with 8 candles and then reduce one by one, which was a model that they were following that had been set out in the observance of Sukkot, another 8-day festival. That was the followers, the school of Rabbi Shammai. The followers of Rabbi Hillel said, well, you know, it really is the darkest time of year. And I don't think we want to really accentuate things getting darker and darker and darker. So let us take the opposite approach. And we will light the first night 1 candle, and then each succeeding night add 1 more. So 2, 3, 4, etc. If you count very closely, you'll see that there are 9 candles there, 8 of which are actually for marking the 8 days. The 9th is called the shamash, or helper candle, and it is there to enable us to light the others. Parenthetically, tuck this away for a night soon to come. The tradition in Judaism among Ashkenazic Jews, and perhaps even Mizrahi and Sephardic Jews, is that during the time that the Hanukkah candles are burning, women are not allowed to do any housework. Not making it up. So my suggestion is find really long-lasting candles to help out. There was this discussion about, you know, do we start with take 1 away, or do we start with 1 and then add to it? And it made sense to most people that the House of Hillel had it right, to increase the light, to increase the blessing, particularly at this dark time of year. However, they said, but to honor the other set of opinions, what we're going to do is not light them in the order that they're building, starting on the right, going to the left. We're going to light the candle first on the left and then go to the right. And this was really a compromise of sorts. And the reason I'm going in this direction to talk about this is because Hillel and Shammai and their followers present us a model of dispute resolution that actually has a lot of meaning for us today. If you look towards the door in the back, you'll see there is a mezuzah. The mezuzah is affixed at a 45-degree angle. Anybody know why? Well, because one group said it should be horizontal. The other group said it should be vertical. I kid you not. This was a way of consciously working not to divide the community. And in the Talmud, they actually go to town a little bit on this idea that there were important points of law that needed to be clarified, but at the end of the day, they didn't want those disputations those disputes to somehow divide the people. And the Talmud makes the point that even though the house of Hillel and the house of Shammai rarely agreed on anything, at the end of the day, they would break bread together, they socialized together, their children married into each other's families. And this is held up to be the model of a machloket l'shem shamayim, a dispute that is for the sake of heaven. I think I don't probably need to tell you why that model of dispute resolution is something that resonates today as probably a good idea, rather than what we see often in our national life, which is people who not like Tip O'Neill used to go out for a drink after a session of Congress with his colleagues across the aisle. We're not in that place right now. It'd be good to get back to it. I had the good fortune to study with a rabbi named David Hartman, may he rest in peace, in Israel for a number of years. And he had a very interesting point to make on this. He said, what is the miracle? Well, I'll ask you, what's the miracle of Hanukkah? That the oil that was only there for one day ended up lasting for 8 days. He said, yeah, sure, that's the traditional answer. But from his standpoint, the true miracle was that the community was willing to light the lamp without any assurance that it was going to burn for an appreciable amount of time. They were willing to dream that that light would bring illumination to their community. It was, in a way, an example of a faith commitment, that they were willing to start the process even though there was absolutely no assurance that the oil was going to last for an appreciable amount of time. So a few thoughts about Hanukkah. There are many others, but that's why Hanukkah comes next year as well. We are going to, with the cantor's leadership, sing some Hanukkah melodies. I'd like to invite Richard back to help us. And to say, since I'm sure I'm going to forget later, to thank Bennett Friedman, who is providing rhythmic assistance, along with Karen Horwitz, who, as always, is providing us with a beautiful, lush accompaniment.
So there are a couple of bits of liturgy that we would normally be singing at Chanukah. The first is Al Hanisim. The second is, as I mentioned before, the Ma'oz Tzor. And kind of one of the questions that arises that when you're kind of doing the service a little bit before Chanukah, what do you kind of do with these songs? You want to sing them, but there really isn't anywhere that would normally have kind of fit in the service to include them, which is why we're going to sing them here as essentially part of the Devar. As I mentioned, the first of these is our Al Hanisim, which would normally be recited as kind of an extra addition as part of the Amidah that we recited just a little bit earlier. And also during Chanukah, we would sing this song or read this text as part of our Birkat Hamazon, our grace after meals. The text offers thanks for the miracles performed in the days of the Maccabees, expressing gratitude for the victory over Greek oppression and also marking the rededication of the temple. You will find the text for Al Hanisim in the Sidurim, in the prayer books, on page 556. And please join me as we sing this song together. Al Hanisim ve'al hapurkan ve'al hagvurot ve'al hatshuot ve'al hamilchamot she'asita lavoteinu bayamim hahem hazman hazeh. Al Hanisim ve'al hapurkan ve'al hagvurot ve'al hatshuot ve'al hamilchamot she'asita lavoteinu bayamim hahem hazman hazeh. Al Hanisim ve'al hapurkan ve'al hagvurot ve'al hatshuot ve'al hamilchamot she'asita lavoteinu bayamim hahem hazman hazeh. Al Hanisim ve'al hapurkan ve'al hagvurot ve'al hatshuot ve'al hamilchamot she'asita lavoteinu bayamim hahem hazman hazeh. Bayamim hahem hazman hazeh. Bayamim hahem hazman hazeh. And if you turn just a little bit further in the prayer books to page 669. At the top of the page there, you'll find the text for Ma'oz Tzur, traditionally a 5-stanza song, although in the Reform movement we've omitted 4 of those stanzas, but we do maintain the first. And there are actually very good reasons as well why we did omit them, which happy to talk about some other time. Some of it's reference to the temple, some of it is also because it's really quite militaristic, although in fairness, to a degree, so is the first. We are, however, going to sing the first verse in Hebrew and also what's become the kind of de facto translation here in the US, Rock of Ages, led our song, Praise Your Saving Power. Please join me for Ma'oz Tzur at the top of page 669. Ma'oz Tzur Yeshuati lechana eleshabeach tikon beit tefilati v'sham toda nezabeach letachin matbeach mitzar hamnabeach azegmor b'shir mizmor chanukat hamizbeach azegmor b'shir mizmor chanukat hamizbeach. Rock of Ages, let our song praise your saving power. You amid the raging foes were our sheltering tower. Furious they assailed us, but your arm availed us, and your word broke their sword when our own strength failed us, and your word broke their sword when our own strength failed us. And we will bring our service to a close in just a few minutes' time with one more Chanukah song. But before we do that, please turn to page 586 and join me as we face the ark and recite our Aleinu together. Page 586.
Please rise.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר ויה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו
The Kaddish Yatom, or Mourner's Kaddish, is found on page 598. And we think especially this week of Rhoda Silver, who is just laid to rest. The following, who have members of our congregation saying Kaddish for them, and this the year following the death: Bob Israel, James Yanni, Leo Weinshell, Myrna Grossman, Herb Bratt, Bill Nikud, Dick Kahn, Stan Jolton, Robin Glickstein, Bob Lieb, Allie Kravitz, Marcia Fenson, Nancy Osterman, David Hestad, Gary Sobel, Chip Alberts, Hank Borkovitz, Jonathan Frank, Stan Aronoff, and Dick Kuhn. And the following, whose yahrzeit or yearly anniversary falls this week of their death: Sabrina Bradbury, Aaron Bram, Michael David Colton, Dr. David Davidoff, Elaine Friedman, Bob Goldberg, Arthur Goldstein, Manny Hassel, Harry Hillman, Barney Houle, Julius Kripke, Clementine Kohler-Meyer, Marla Joyce Perlman, Marcia Reese, Anita Feld-Silbar, and Rabbi Carrie David Yales. If there's anyone who is mourning the recent passing of a friend or loved one, or observing the yahrzeit anniversary of the loved one's death, whose name I didn't mention or perhaps inadvertently mispronounced, I would ask you please to share those names aloud with us at this time. We continue with Kaddish.
Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah.
Amen.
Be'alma divrach chiluteh v'yamlich malchuteh. V'chayechon u'v'yamechon u'v'chayeh d'chol beit Yisrael. Ba'agala u'vizman kariv v'imeru. Amen. Yehei shemei rabbah mevarach le'alam u'lam me'al maya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitraman v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yithalal shmei d'kudashah berichu le'ela min kol berchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran be'alma v'imeru. Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imeru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imeru. Amen.
May the source of peace, who makes peace in the highest heavens, enable us to learn how to make peace here on earth. And may God share with those in mourning a measure of consolation and comfort. And together we say,
Amen.
Please be seated. And we have someone who is giving a few announcements.
Shabbat Shalom. My name's Michael Houle, and I'm a member of the Board of Directors for Congregation Sinai. Tonight's beam of flowers are sponsored by Michael and Penny Hool in memory of my sister Marcia and my father Barney. We are grateful for the contributions made this week to our Sinai community in memory of Dr. Jonathan Slimowitz, Bruce Wynn, Rabbi Carrie Ailes, Maria Joyce Perlman, Bob S. Goldberg, Marla Joyce Perlman, Manny Hassel, and Elaine Friedman, and in honor of Dorothy Meyer's birthday. Join us for the following upcoming programs. Enjoy a cup of coffee with the clergy on Friday, January 3rd at 11 a.m. at the Newcastle Place Boardroom. See the e-news for location details. Join us for the meditative Shabbat experience at Shabbat Vayifi Nafash on Saturday, January 4th at 10:30 a.m. at Sinai. Achenu, a men's spirituality group gathering, will be on Sunday, March 5th at 8:30 a.m. here at Sinai, and contact Mitch Colton for more information. And there's also contact in the e-news for that also. The Sinai Brotherhood welcomes students back to school with a delicious pancake breakfast, open to all on Sunday, January 5th at from 9:30 to 10. Or come at 8:30 to help cook and set up. Contact TC to lend a hand. Bring your itsy bitsies to learn and play at Sinai, and this is for ages 0 to 4. Sunday, January 5th at 10:15 a.m. in the Itsy Bitsy room. Continue exploring the world of Jewish music with Cantor Richard Newman at 7 p.m. on Zoom, Tuesdays, January 7th, 14th, 21, and into February. Email Kaylee to register. Sinai Women join Brittany Sheem in a book discussion on Amy Waldman and Pete Jess. We had fun and nobody died. Gathering via Zoom on Monday, January 13th at 7 p.m. Contact Toby Colton or Joanne for more information. For more information on all of these programs, and there is a few, please refer to the Tuesday and Friday Sinai e-news for registration information, live stream, and Zoom links. Shabbat Shalom.
I'm going to take this opportunity to issue some thank yous before we continue or conclude with the blessings for Shabbat. Hanukkah dinner announcements. We hope you will join us following services for the Hanukkah dinner inside. If perchance you didn't register, come see us anyway, and we will find a latke for you. School families that are pre-registered, please look for a table tent with your family name. I guess a table tent is like a little sign. Thanks to our youth educator, Natalie Black, we have some really wonderful activities for kids who are here, including making your own Hanukkah gelt and Hanukkah bingo. I think, in fact, we may all have a chance to play Hanukkah bingo, which you'll be talking about it for weeks. A special thank you to Gordy Goldbaum, Alan Silverman, and the Sinai Brewing Group for their contribution this evening to different beers. One is called Dreidel, Dreidel, Dreidel Belgium Triple, and Flaming Red Hanukkah Ale. In addition, under the leadership of Jill Weinschel, we are going to be eating tonight 4 different kinds of latkes. I think the actual preparation was under her leadership, not the eating. They are the traditional potato latke, sweet potato and carrot, cheese, which I tried one the other day, superlative, and rice and lentil, prepared by Jill and literally a cast of thousands. For the last week and a half, this building has been redolent with the smell of frying onions and latkes and things, and you're going to enjoy them. You better enjoy them. Thank you to the following individuals who were part of that huge effort, who peeled, shredded, and fried for our enjoyment. Lily and Natalie Black, Lori Fisher, Miriam Horowitz, Jennifer and Steve McLowski, Elliot Ron, Bobby Rector, Ryan and Jana Ruggles, Sandy Saltstein, Judy Schneider, Sarah Siegel, Nancy Stillman, Marcy Tanz, Andrea Waxman, Mike and Eli Weinschel, and Mary Würzberg. At the end of the meal, please help us maintain an orderly Kihila Kidosha, a holy community, by bussing your table and following the signs at the back of the room. If you want to have a consultation on the spelling of busing, the cantor and I will be available for that, or to show you where you actually bring your things. And though it doesn't say this here because she's the one who actually prepared the thank yous, a very special thank you to Jen Friedman, without whom we would be eating cardboard tonight. So thank you, Jen. And please, the blessing for Kiddush is on page 123. If you'd like to join us, which you are invited to do, please rise.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kishanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava uvratzon minchilanu zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit כי הוא יום תחילה למקראי קודש, זכר יציאת מצרים. כי באנו בחרת, ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים. ושבת קודשך באהבה וברצון, הנחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת. לחיים.
Chaim. And please join us in the Motzi.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם המוציא לחם מן הארץ בתיאבון.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. And please, in the spirit of keeping this community a warm and welcoming one, take a moment on your way inside or inside the room next door to introduce yourself to a couple of people whom you do not know. We have the advantage of seeing everybody's faces and pretty much know who everybody is. But I know a lot of you don't know each other. So please take the opportunity to introduce yourself. And may you have a wonderful Hanukkah.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
יישר כוח. I like what you're saying to you. This is not bad today.
No, it's this is the McDonald's recipe. It's very good.
So the fries are all supposed to be the same. And if they are, and the showers can be above or below, you just can't be on the same level. Usually,
Yes, that's exactly it.
I know it's going to be,
Now the eagle,
that has to be above, if it's bold.
you have to count the toupee as part of the